It's crime time. It's Tuesday. When I feel like it and when I feel like it's worth the time, not worth it. That sounds weird. I don't want to say it like that. Um, we try to do true crime on Tuesdays because that way I can do it consistently and also not burn out. So here we are. It's Tuesday. We're gonna do some true crime. A lot of stuff comes from my Discord, my reaction suggestions. So if you're not in the Discord, please do that. That would be awesome.
Thank you for streaming Crime Time today. My day has been real bad, and you always cheer me up.
No problem. We watch a lot of suggestions from the Discord.
Wow,
on top of ones I found
months.
myself. So if you're not in the Discord, please do that.
Me sick.
If I did not get you sick, shut up. We watch this through Twitch predominantly. So if you want the best experience, you should come over here. If you're watching the video on YouTube, that means you missed the stream, but you have a chance to find the next one whenever you see this and whenever you watch this. So please come over to Twitch. I stream pretty much every day.
Wait, that's not
except
right.
Sunday. So we're gonna watch one from Stay Awake called "Husband Instantly Becomes Suspect in Wife's Murder." While this might be a clickbaity title that entices a person, fair. That isn't exactly a shocking case. Typically when people, like I've said this before, typically when people are killed, the family is the suspect. It tends to be the case. Tends to be what goes down. People are, the family is always suspicious. Even if you don't think so or don't want to think so, the authorities typically suspect family. And honestly, unfortunately, as they should, what people might not know is that, like, typically crime to people stay in house. In terms of like familiarity, there's typically some connection to you with the person who did the crime. Yeah. Tends to be what happens. Don't know why. Well, I do know why. Just because that's how people find things out, is through familiarity. So, like, people tend to do crimes where they see opportunity, and you see the most opportunity within people you're near. And then if it's, sometimes it's family, and some people don't care and will do that sort of thing to their family. You see it a lot with like drug addiction, stuff like that. People who have drug addictions tend to be like hostile towards their family, especially when it comes to monetary gain, if they need it, stuff like that. So this isn't exactly a shocking title for me, but I do see, I'm sure it enticed some people. Anyway, I'm really cool and smart, just so you guys know. I kind of have to use the bathroom, if that's okay. I'm looking for something on my RuneScape. I'm trying to think of what I need. Okay, I got to use the bathroom really quick, then we'll be back. We'll watch this one. I'm actually going to go downstairs and like fill up my coffee and shit, so I'll zoom in on my RuneScape character and you can see take a gander at him in his wide stance, Mr. Fart Taker himself. All right, be right back. All right. Welcome back, gamers, gamettes, game theys, game thems. I got my piss in. I got some coffee. I made myself some yogurt with some granola at the bottom, softening up in the yogurt to make it even better, and some blueberries and hot honey on it. Huge lunch, W lunch. All right, let's watch this video. Once again, husband instantly becomes suspect in wife's murder from Stay Away Crime and Psychology. We like this guy. He makes good content, I think. Last time I checked. So let's see how it is.
Call work 1.
Archer County Sheriff's Office.
I got a dead body out here at Lake Cooper.
What?
Yeah, this is going to be the one he's looking for.
What the officer just alluded to was the discovery of 49-year-old Manuela Allen's body, dead at the Lake Cooper State Park in Texas. At the time of this discovery, her husband, 55-year-old Peter Allen, was back at the station being interrogated by detectives.
I mean, it could be somebody in the household. It could be you. It could be,
And I'll be honest with you, Peter, and we've been sitting here for probably 4 or 5 hours right now talking. I think there's more to it than what you're telling me.
I'm innocent, and I know it. I did not.
Hot honey as in microwave honey? No, as in like spicy.
Peter is quickly being thrusted into the position of prime suspect. But is this just a case of tunnel vision, or did Peter really assassinate his wife of 23 years? In order to answer that question, we need to go back to the early morning hours of July 7th, 2019, when an officer was dispatched to the Allen household following a frantic 911 call from Peter. The officer was met by Peter on the driveway. Peter was clearly still distraught about the discovery he just made.
Morning, Mr. Allen. What's going on this morning? I have no idea. My wife's gone. Her car is gone. My daughter comes and says, "Hey, Dad, where's Mom?" And I go, "Well, I guess in the room sleeping." And she goes, "Well, no, the door's locked. I slept on the couch. Car's gone." So she goes through there and unlocks it. She comes up and said, "Dad, there's blood all over the place." Okay. And I have no idea. You have your ID with you, Mr. Allen? Yeah.
Peter led the officer to the master bedroom. It was a bloodbath.
Okay, go ahead and step out here. Go ahead and come out
Interesting.
here. Usually her keys are hanging right there. Okay, let's go ahead and go out to the living room. And you say you looked in the garage and the car's gone. Well, the car would be parked right in front, yeah.
After doing a quick scan of the scene, the officer went back to his cruiser and provided dispatch with a description of Manu's missing vehicle.
Shows to be a white Arcadia. Pass the information along for our officers to look for it.
Dispatch relayed this information to all law enforcement on duty and directed Sergeant Dan Burbeck to accompany the officer at the scene.
This is him, this is his daughter.
They tenaciously tried to get a hold of Manu, but their calls weren't going through, so they wondered if they could pinpoint her cell phone's last known location.
Hey, can you ping a phone?
They also contacted both of the hospitals in Olney to see if Manu was a patient at
Very
one
much
of them,
something they
but
can do.
neither of them had a record of her being there. With Manu missing and her room painted with blood, Burbeck declared the Allen household a crime scene.
Yeah, I mean,
Peter
this
and
would
his
immediately
kids,
be the
Kiara
husband.
and Darian were told to step outside.
I need y'all to go ahead and...
It would be the
step out
husband
here
and
on
the kids
porch.
who are suspected, even though you don't want the kids to be a suspect.
Mom,
But
your mom's missing. Okay.
We're already attempting to locate her. So I checked both hospitals here. I didn't find anything. If you'll stay here, I'm going to just kind of walk around.
Sergeant Burbeck went back inside while the officer stayed on the porch with the family. He used this opportunity to begin building a rough timeline.
When was the last time you saw her?
Last night, probably about 9 o'clock.
Yesterday evening, Manu gave Peter a goodnight kiss and went to bed. Peter ended up falling asleep on the living room couch. He said that he didn't hear anything suspicious all night. After waking up and discovering the blood, they realized that Manu was also missing. So they went directly to the hospital to see if she had already gone there. When
Of
they couldn't
course.
find her, they went back home and dialed 911. The officer found this part of the story suspicious.
Yeah, that's
Why
extremely
wouldn't they
weird.
call 911 immediately after discovering the blood?
I agree.
It was also strange that Peter was showing little emotion,
Extremely
despite these
strange.
concerning circumstances. While the officer continued to gather basic information from the family, Sergeant Burbeck was inside the home, inspecting the blood evidence. He peered into the kitchen and noticed 2 bloody footprints. One of the footprints had a distinct pattern in the center, likely from a therapeutic sock. There was also a bloody handprint on the kitchen door frame. The trail of blood led Burbeck across the hall and into the master bedroom. The bedroom and closet doors were covered with blood, and several more handprints were smeared across them. There was also a large pool of blood at the foot of the bed, and a pocket knife on the floor beside it. Strangely, Manu's blanket and bedsheet were missing, but the puzzle pieces began to fall into place as Burbeck made his way through the laundry room and into the garage. A streak of blood ran across the floor and out the back door, as if a body had been dragged outside. The trail continued to the side of the garage and stopped near a set of tire tracks which extended to the driveway, potentially indicating that a body was loaded into a vehicle which was parked on the grass. Manu...
Where was the bedroom in relationship to this? Or where was the living room in relationship to the bedroom? Because, like, did is this guy claiming that he was asleep as they drug a body across the living room behind him or near him? Is that the claim he is making? Interesting.
Kept her car keys hanging on a hook on the kitchen wall. Since the trail of bloody footprints
but her
led
car is
directly
missing
to the keys, the detective believed that the perpetrator had previously been inside the household and already knew where to find them. Sergeant Burbeck returned to the front porch and pulled the officer away from the family to share his troubling observations.
So it looks like she might have been killed in the bedroom. They have tracks going along the side of the house here, like somebody pulled around and loaded her in. There are drag marks through the garage where she was drugged out the back door.
The officer told Burbeck that despite the clear struggle that had taken place, Peter supposedly didn't hear anything throughout the night. This, along with his strangely calm behavior, raised some red flags for the officer.
I'm a heavy sleeper.
They reconvened with the family and made it clear that they believed foul play was involved.
I'm going to tell you if something sinister happened and there's somebody involved in it.
Just in case any of the family members were responsible for Manu's disappearance, the officers wanted to question each person separately.
Which is very common.
After
literally the most common tactic. Once again, crimes are typically done like... Once again, there's not like a good way to say it other than like in the family. I hate saying it like that because it's weird, but at the same time, like, once again, there is typically some type of connection when it comes to a crime done to somebody. It's very rare that a lot of violent crimes, especially, are unpersonal in some way, unless you get sort of into the art. Oh my God, excuse me. Unless you sort of get into the nuances of serial killing. Serial killing is kind of the anomaly that questions that sort of commonality, because, like, once again, serial killing is typically like done at seemingly random, depending. So, I don't know. Anyway.
Securing the scene, they brought Peter, Kiara, and Darian down to the station while the officers got in touch with Peter and Manu's other children, Melanie and William. But rather than questioning them themselves, Burbeck asked the Texas Rangers to assist in the investigation. Ranger Michael Schraub was put in charge of the case. His first order of business was instructing several other rangers to help process the crime scene. He also requested that the neighboring counties help locate Manu's vehicle. Meanwhile, he went to the Young County Sheriff's Office to interview Manu's family. First up was their number one suspect, Peter.
I don't know that, but if somebody came in,
very common.
She put up one hell of a fight, I'll tell you that. She's tough.
Peter tried to brainstorm what exactly had happened to Manu. He seemed to believe that she had survived the attack and spread her blood around afterwards.
The way there was blood, it looked like there was a fight or an attack, is what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
But then if she bled that much, she could have been kind of silly for not having blood. And then it was like stunned and wiped it on the door. But none of that makes sense to me.
What a genius.
There was blood on the outside of the door.
Masterful gambit. Let's see how this plays out.
It doesn't make sense.
Considering the sheer amount of blood at the scene, it was obvious that Manu had not survived the initial attack. Either Peter was in denial about this, or he was intentionally playing dumb. The detective wanted to know if Peter had a motive to kill Manu.
Was she involved with anybody else? Did you suspect that? Or were you involved with anybody else? Did you suspect? Did she something like that?
My wife is a old school Roman Catholic.
Okay.
From Germany, in the Bavaria. That's where we just were for the 3rd week. Goes to church every Sunday. No.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a man, so I'm a dog. I look, but I don't touch. I'm married. No.
Peter was adamant that his relationship with Manu was solid, but he also said that he had slept on the living room couch all night. The detective wondered if sleeping on the couch indicated that the two had been fighting.
What led to you sleeping on the couch last night? And somebody told me that you had said that y'all had some type of disagreement or whatever last night. No? Is that normal that you sleep on the couch? Okay.
If you ask my kids, they'll tell you I sleep on the couch all the time. But 1, my snores really loud. 2, I snore really loud. 3, I had a few drinks last night, and me and my wife have an agreement. If I have even one drink, 1 beer, I sleep on the couch.
While this was a convenient explanation for Peter, the detective still couldn't understand how he didn't hear the struggle that was taking place right down the hall.
Okay,
The detective
there's my
didn't want to
there's my
make it
answer.
obvious that he was suspicious of Peter, so he shifted the conversation to Manu's relationship with the kids.
Any particular conflict with
Makes
any
no
of the
sense,
kids
man.
and-
Right there, hear nothing, especially if it was
Yeah,
that
your
gruesome.
children.
My children would never touch my wife.
Okay.
And
Very
my
odd.
wife, she can beat somebody. If somebody came in, I don't know what happened, but if somebody came in, she put up one hell of a fight, I'll tell you that.
Peter claimed that nobody in the house would have done this. The only other person who might have known where the keys were was Melanie's ex-boyfriend, Julius.
Since he got mad at my older daughters and they were breaking up, so I'm not saying he's suspect. I'm saying that you know.
Although this was useful information, Ranger Schraub didn't want to direct his focus away from the family. He made it clear that everybody that was inside the house at the time of the murder was still a suspect.
I mean, it could be somebody in the household. It could be you. It could be, you know.
I know you have to keep everybody open as a suspect. I understand you gotta do what you gotta do. You understand, you find a person, I'm gonna do what I gotta do.
I'll be honest with you. It sounds like it's somebody that had some type of relationship or something with her, and I'm sure it kind of you can see that, I'm sure too, to a certain extent, especially since you didn't wake up or anything in the middle of it. If there's a struggle.
The struggles can be quiet. It's a long way.
And you would know this how?
In front of the house.
Not suspicious at all.
I don't see any scratch marks on your arms or on your face or anything. You don't have anything on your chest or anything like that, do you?
No. If it was a fist fight with my wife, there'd be bruises, trust me.
While this interview was taking place, an officer with the Archer County Sheriff's Office was looking for Manu at the Lake Cooper State Park when he saw her vehicle, abandoned in the middle of a field.
This vehicle is going to be unoccupied, and looks like it's been wrecked out.
It seemed that the vehicle had gotten stuck while driving over a small hill, and the bumper plate had fallen off in the process. Upon closer inspection, the officer saw traces of blood all over it.
28 is going to be Texas, Lincoln, Sam, Victor.
With the help of dispatch, the officer was able to confirm that this was in fact Manu's vehicle. So, he began searching the surrounding area for Manu. He walked towards the fence line, and when he turned to his left, he saw a white cloth in the distance. The cloth was partially hidden.
This is not uncommon, by the way. It is state parks are typically, statistically, burial grounds, which sucks, but it is. This does happen because it's a big open area, lots of nature, lots of shrubbery, and not a whole lot of people in the condensed area. So people really do think it's easy to just like go in and do a crime or hide a crime. When in fact it's not, by the way. It's not like they don't have I don't know, cameras.
Hidden under some plants, but as the officer got closer, he realized that the cloth
Excuse
was
me.
actually a
God, I'm
blood-soaked
burping so
sheet.
bad, sorry.
A body was wrapped inside of it. With a sigh of defeat, the officer walked back to his cruiser to inform dispatch and the other investigators about his discovery.
I got a dead body out here at Lake Cooper.
Say a command or say help.
Call work 1.
Archer County Sheriff's Office.
Hey, this is going to be the one he's looking for.
What?
Yeah.
After receiving the news, Sergeant Burbeck, along with a team of Texas Rangers, drove to Lake Cooper to process the scene.
Well, we have a whole crime scene back there at the house.
The sheets that Manu was wrapped in were the missing blankets from her room. Her injuries can be aptly described with 2 words: complete overkill. She had dozens of stab wounds all over her body, mostly concentrated on the back of her head. Also, her neck had been broken by strangulation, and she was shot in the face. The presence of a bullet casing at the scene indicated that Manu was shot after she was already dead. Based on her injuries, this appeared to be an unfiltered emotional killing. Thankfully, the investigators found several clues pointing to who the killer might be. For starters, there were several bloody fingerprints on the vehicle. There was also a distinct footprint in the mud next to the driver's side door. The pattern was from an Air Jordan Legacy shoe. Additionally, there were several bicycle tracks in the mud. Since it was a recreational area, it wasn't unusual to see bike tracks, but it was also possible that the killer fled the scene on a bike. The investigators wondered if anybody had witnessed this, and in a stroke of luck, they ran into someone who might have. An oil field worker just down the road from the crime scene said that early in the morning, he saw someone riding a bike towards Olney, wearing a gray sweater, black pants, and a backpack. A team of investigators headed in the same direction to see if there were any nearby surveillance cameras. Back at the station, as Ranger Schraub interrogated Peter, he received a message asking him to step out of the room for a moment.
I'll go get you a bottle of water because I know you're about to be getting thirsty.
He was pulled aside and advised that Manu's body had been found. When Schraub went back to the interrogation room, he gauged Peter's reaction as he broke the tragic news.
They have found her vehicle.
Where?
It's in the neighboring county, and there's a body next to it.
Dead body
now. Yeah, but we haven't confirmed 100% that it's her, but considering the circumstances, we believe it is. We have people, I think there's going to be a criminal investigation.
Yeah.
So your house is going to be part of the crime scene.
Peter seemed genuinely heartbroken, struggling to hold back his tears. The detective offered to tell the kids as well, but Peter was insistent that he do it himself.
Okay, I'll respect that.
Made me cry, but I got the man up.
There's nothing wrong with crime in this situation.
Peter and Manu's kids, Kiara, Darian, William, and Melanie, were all at the station at this point waiting to be interviewed. They all hugged their dad as he broke the news to them.
Now they broke into the house and attacked your man while she was there. They found the car and they found your mother. They got that positive like this.
As the family held each other, Kiara collapsed to the floor. The rest of the kids sat and grieved with her, except for Darian, who sat against the wall away from everybody. Although everybody grieves in their own way, the detectives found it strange that Darian would disconnect himself from the rest of the family during such a traumatic moment. After giving everybody some time to process their loss, the detective made sure Darian was the next person to be questioned.
What's your name?
Okay.
Right off the bat, the detective noticed that Darian's legs were shaking. He also noticed a blister on Darian's hand. He wondered if this injury could have been from a repetitive stabbing motion while attacking Manu. Schraub asked Darian to describe last night from his perspective.
Dude, I really like this channel. Like, he's sitting here like, okay, it's just, he's just good at storytelling. He does a good job telling, like, and just to make it clear, I think he does a good job of telling the story without making it something it isn't, right? Like in a respectful way that is sensible. Like there is an overarching issue with true crime content and people making it way more dramatized slash like everything than it should be. There's a lot of disconnect there. There's a lot of people that make content for this and in this topic that try to like make it something wild, right? And it really moves off of the point of like people suffered here, right? Like this is a problem. Like this happened, this is real. And like real people suffered from this. Families, the person, the victim's family, arguably the suspect's family, especially if it's the same family in this scenario. But I mean, even if it's two separate families, still the family of that suspect suffers just similarly to the victim's family because they have to deal with accepting or realizing that somebody that they raised or live with, whatever, is capable of that or wants to do that or did. So I really like this guy. I like his ability to tell a story, tell the crime in a story-like fashion, in a compelling way that doesn't make it like more than it is, right? Because he's going off of the police logic here. He's not going off of much else. He's going when a spouse is killed, the prime suspect is the other spouse. That is typically what ends up being the case. That's what the police usually go off of. That's what tends to happen. And that's true. Then it's the rest of the family. And I really appreciate him showing the dad, talking about the dad, showing the inconsistencies with the dad, but then sort of hiding away the suspicion of this other kid here. And while we don't know the full story here, obviously this could be still the dad or could be the kid or could be both, could be neither. I like that he hides this information from me because it removes this assumptuous manner. It removes assuming a lot. Like we're assuming a lot from the dad because it seems like he's the guilty one here, or it did, but he might not be, right? But the initial parts of the video make it seem like he is, so we're looking at inconsistencies within the dad. We're not even considering the rest of the family yet. Makes you kind of consider what's going on. It's like, why is he sleeping on the couch? How did he not wake up to any of it? If it was really a drinking thing, like how much did he drink to the point where he didn't even wake up to a struggle? If he is innocent, if he's not innocent, why does he think that's like something that would be convincing enough? Like it creates all sorts of questions, and they might not even be relevant, but that's really cool, like thinking, and it is actually good investigative thinking as well. So like, I don't know if this is intentional or not by him, but he creates this really good like thought process, at least for me, within watching the video, where like it brings up investigative questioning within the viewer themselves, not bias reasoning or hindsight bias, etc. Like he could have just said who it was at the very beginning, and we could have looked at the interrogation with just the suspect and pointed out all of the suspicious behavior of the suspect. But he's showing the dad first, because that's what the police go off of, is spouse first. He's showing the differences in his reactions. He's showing the inconsistencies in his alibi. But then he's showing his grievances within the confirmation of his wife's death and his grievances with his family. And then it's like, okay, but then look at one of their kids over in the corner not embracing his family and grievance over an extremely shared struggle, right? And while people respond differently to everything, that is a very interesting response in that scenario. And maybe it's completely unrelated. Maybe he's just the type of person to be extremely solitary and confined when it comes to like intense emotional behavior like this. But it's worthy of note. And that's exactly what the police go off of, is not necessarily something like just body language to detect stuff like lying, whatever, inside of an interrogation, but it's language within a situation, which includes body language, but body language isn't a determinate fact, but behavior on top of it is insightful, right? Like it gives them something to go off of. It doesn't necessarily give them the truth, right? And that's what I think is really cool here, is he does a good job of differentiating like the differences between like using body language and like language and behavior in general by suspects and victims and affected families. He uses it as a means of insight rather than a means of like, we know this is a lie because of that, which is just not how it works. So I don't know. I really like this channel. He does a really good job of just making it in a really objectively good way, investigatively analytical, on top of like, he builds it like a story without making it more dramatic than it needs to be, because this is a real thing that somebody died from, and there's real victims here. So he does a really good job of keeping it respectful, it seems, on top of thought-provoking, which I think is really cool. I really like this guy.
Darian said that he arrived home from a friend's house around 11:30 p.m. and went straight to bed. However, he struggled to fall asleep, so he ended up playing video games most of the night with his headphones on. Other than some rustling in the kitchen sometime after 3 a.m., which he assumed was his dad getting himself a snack. Darian didn't hear anything for the rest of the night. The detective wanted to know if there was any tension between Darian and his mom, possibly surrounding his late-night gaming sessions or his unemployed status.
God, so true. Dude, I pulled an all-nighter once when I was in high school. My mom was fucking pissed. Like, it was the weekend, whatever. So it was like a Friday to Saturday, I think. I was up all night playing games, and my mom was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Go to sleep." And I was like, "Well, it's 8 a.m., so no." Never did that again. But yeah, it's a point of contention. It can be, for sure. I definitely got my fair share of questions and confusion from my parents when I would play games a lot. But here I am using my degree while playing a game, while speaking about my degree, while thinking about my game, while getting paid to do both. So, things work out, things happen. So.
On to you about getting a job, or was it just?
No, she was just helping me out. We kind of had a little disagreement because I don't want to go to college, but she wants to go to college.
The detective then inquired about the blister on Darian's hand.
What'd you do to your hand up there?
This,
No, the blister.
mowing the yard.
Schraub had his suspicions about Darian's claims, but
From
at this
gaming
point,
on the
there was no
sticks.
evidence to refute them. Before he wrapped up the interview, he decided to throw a Hail Mary and ask Darian directly if he was involved.
Did you have anything to do with your mother's? Yeah, do you know who did?
Darian was told to sit in the waiting room while Schraub moved on to interview the other family members.
Let me get your name wrong.
The detective had Kiara describe the night from her perspective as well. She said that she spent yesterday evening at her boyfriend's house and arrived home around the same time as Darian.
I got home at like 11:50.
Okay. So 11.
It's getting interesting because I don't know. I'm a little confused as to who did it now. Because
Did you see both of them?
neither husband nor son has a good excuse as to how they didn't hear a struggle if it existed.
Since they keep the doors locked at night, Peter had to let
Excuse me.
Kiara in. She went straight to her room and fell asleep while FaceTiming her boyfriend with her earbuds in.
Mm-hmm.
I woke up at 8:45 and I just got ready to go to the gym. And I went to go put my clothes in the washing machine and I go to my mom's room because I have to go there to get to it. And the door is locked when I try to go in there. And I mean, usually it's not locked. So I went asked my dad where she was, and he looked really confused, and he just told me to go check around through the garage.
After going through the garage, Kiara saw her mom's blood-stained room. But rather than getting help right away, she started inspecting the room, looking for answers as to what had happened.
I picked up a pocket knife on the ground to see if there was blood on it.
To Kiara, this seemed like a reasonable decision at the time.
That's not
since
smart.
she wanted to know if her mother had been stabbed.
It's
but
tampering.
picking up the knife at a potential murder scene can easily compromise the investigation.
Yes, it can.
Maybe she had actually stabbed her mother and was now lying to explain her fingerprints.
I was about
on
to
the
say.
knife. Also, Kiara's room was on the opposite side of the master bedroom wall.
Once
Were
again,
her earbuds
just
really so soundproofed that she didn't hear any commotion from the master bedroom. But just like Darian,
okay. Now, devil's advocate here. I have AirPod Pros. I've had them for years. They cancel out noise, man. Those things work. I'll be in my yard mowing my lawn on my loud ass lawnmower, and I will not hear it. Like, I won't hear it. Now, who knows when it comes to, like, I don't know in terms of, like, the sharing the wall. I mean, dependent on the brutality and the intensity, it is crazy to think about sharing a wall of the room a murder victim is in and being murdered in. That is pretty interesting. Now, once again, though, devil's advocate, those headphones or those earbuds, AirPod Pros, that shit cancels noise, man. I mean, it really does. Like, as a person who's had one for years, it absolutely does that. So, I mean, who knows? And once again, this is just another testament to, like, how good this guy is at laying out a crime like this in a way that's more thought-provoking rather than just like, this person died, this person did it, look at all the reasons this person is suspicious, look how stupid they are. Anyway, thanks for the money. Like, he does once again a really good job of, and you know, in a way you could be insensitive about this, I guess. You could argue it's a little insensitive to implicate the family if they're not involved, but investigatively, criminologically, that is the thought process of investigators. When a person in a family dies, the family's first on the list of suspects. That is what they do. That is their process. He's telling the story from a investigative side rather than like a YouTuber entertainment side, right? And I think it's really nice. It's nice to see somebody doing it this way because it's helpful. It makes you think more about it in a way that's like, once again, like thought-provoking and actually investigative rather than like, well, they did it and we know who they did it. So like when he in the interrogation room and he lie, I see his shoulder shake a little bit, which means he lying. Not how it works. But once again, massive props to this dude. His channel is great.
there wasn't enough evidence to refute any of Kiara's claims. Melanie and William were also questioned, but there weren't any major revelations during
So curious
their
how this plays out.
If I told you that I suspected it was somebody close to the family, who would you think that might be responsible for it? Anybody?
Honestly, I have no idea because everyone loves my parents.
Any idea who may be responsible for this?
I wish I did. I don't know anyone who would want to hurt him.
Okay.
Once all of the interviews were finished, the Allen family was free to leave, but since their house was still considered a crime scene, they
can't go
stayed at a
home.
friend's Airbnb for the time being. The investigators were able to obtain surveillance footage from a bank that is located on West Main Street,
there
the
it is.
primary road that leads in and
Even if you go to a national park where you think there's no security or any sort of vigilance, you still have to get there. So
out of Olney. At exactly 6:31 a.m., someone was captured riding
there
a
it
bicycle
is.
into Olney, away from Lake Cooper, where Manu's body was found. This individual matched the description that the oil field worker provided: a gray sweater, black pants, and a backpack. But unfortunately, the suspect's face wasn't in clear view. One thing was certain. This person's stature did not match number one suspect.
I was about to say, does not
also,
look like him.
None of the bikes in the Allen's garage matched the tracks that were in the mud.
Interesting.
So it was unlikely that the person in the video was one of the Allens.
Interesting.
However, the investigators found another item in the Allen household that was extremely damning for Peter. In the master bedroom, they found a compression sock covered in blood. The pattern on the bottom of the sock matched the bloody footprint in the kitchen. Peter was asked to come back to the police station where Texas Ranger Jason Shea conducted another interview. Ranger Shea started off by asking Peter how he was holding up. He said that things had been hard and became overwhelmed with emotions.
You need some Kleenex? You good?
I've been crying for 5 days for too little more. Sometimes I cry, sometimes I feel pissed, sometimes I feel outraged. I want to cry. Honestly, I want him dead.
Before confronting Peter, they spent a large portion of the interview going over his story again.
When was the last time you saw your wife?
Well,
that's upsetting, man.
One drink during the day, I slept on the couch. And I said, well, just go around through the garage. We hauled ass to the emergency room at Oldie.
For the most part, Peter's story was consistent with the statements he made in the last interview. But there were...
That's another reason that they bring in people for another interview a couple of days later to see if there's any inconsistencies with their previous statements, by the way.
Were some crucial new details. Apparently, he did hear some noises that night. Around 5 a.m., he heard Manu's vehicle starting up.
There's an inconsistency.
And then all of a sudden I didn't hear anything. I was thinking maybe my wife went to Allsup's to get them coffee or something. I don't know.
Does she usually get up at 5 and go get coffee?
Every once in a while she would get up and go get milk, but that didn't make sense because we just been shot the day before.
Right.
None of this makes sense to me. None of it.
He also heard something within the house earlier that night, but didn't think much of it at the time.
I thought it was my son coming down from upstairs, and that was it. And I'm like, whatever, that's got to be daring.
After several hours of letting Peter talk, Ranger Shea relentlessly called him out on how ridiculous his story sounded.
And I'll be honest with you, Peter, and we've been sitting here for probably 4 or 5 hours right now talking. I think there's more to it than what you're telling me.
Curious where the bike comes into play. Maybe it's him. Maybe it was the kid and the dad's covering a bit. I'm confused.
You knew whoever left that blood was not alive because that is too much blood. You knew that too because of your training.
I didn't know that too. I thought my wife was hurt. I was hoping and praying she was hurt. Nobody wants to think that their wife has been murdered in their house while they sit in the living room. What kind of a man do you think it makes me feel like knowing that I was sitting in there while some was in there killing my wife?
People don't go straight in the house and know exactly where your keys are at to take the keys either.
I know, that doesn't make sense either.
He confronted Peter about the footprint in the kitchen, explaining that he was the only one that could have done this.
The person who did this did not break into your house and put on your socks and kill your wife.
You're wearing my socks. It makes no sense.
It didn't make any sense. They sneak into your room, put on your socks, kill your wife, go get the keys where nobody knew except for you and your kids, and leave without anybody hearing it. It makes no sense at all. It doesn't happen. Hey, Peter?
I did not. Why? I could not explain this. I don't know what happened.
Why would somebody put on your socks and kill your wife?
I have no idea. I did not harm my wife.
Interesting.
When this thing comes to a head and a jury believes you stabbed your wife 46 times.
That is so many times.
You in the electric chair.
I did not do
That is an unreal amount of times.
And I know it. And my kids know it. If I lose, I lose. I lose my kids lose their father, but at least I go down knowing that I didn't do this and had nothing to do with this.
It was clear that Peter wasn't going to confess anytime soon. Since all of the evidence linking him to the crime thus far was circumstantial, Peter was free to leave. The
That's true.
investigators believed that it was only a matter of time before Peter would be back at the station in cuffs. By this
Okay.
point in the investigation, the Allen household was no longer
Interesting.
needed, so the Allen family was allowed to go back home. Peter's good friend, Verl Wolverton, drove from Arkansas
What
to
a
Texas
name.
to support the
Oh,
family
Arkansas
through this
mention.
hard time. Even he found it strange that Peter
Verl.
didn't hear Manu being attacked. So he decided to do an experiment with Darian. Darian went into the master bedroom
Oh my.
and screamed as loud as he could while Verl sat on the living room couch. Verl couldn't hear anything. He and Darian swapped places, and Darian could hardly hear anything as well.
Really?
They took this information straight to the investigators. The investigators weren't fully convinced that Peter was innocent, but they
Right.
didn't want to get tunnel vision, so they
True.
decided to look into some other possibilities.
Uh-huh.
Although there were no signs of a forced entry, perhaps this really was a burglary gone wrong. After all, it was well known in the community that Peter was an avid gun collector.
To be fair, if a I've said this many a time, burglars don't go in there and they're like, okay, if I get caught, I have to kill somebody. If I get caught, I have to stab somebody 46 times in the head and shoot them once in the head. Not how it works. Not really their goal nor their want. They tend to just like leave and run. I mean, unless they're confronted or they're attacked, you know, that could be different, but who knows?
And there was another gun burglary in Olney just a month prior. One of the
Interesting.
main suspects in that burglary was 17-year-old Corey Taylor. Corey was a
Interesting.
student at Olney High School, where Peter and Manu were teachers. He was known to cause trouble and had several
That's-
run-ins with the police in the past.
That's a
Sergeant
gun.
Burbeck was tasked with bringing Corey down to the station for an interview. When he arrived at Corey's apartment complex, he noticed a bike under the stairs leading up to Corey's apartment. He inspected the wheels, and the tread pattern looked very similar to the tracks left in the mud
What?
near Manu's body. When Burbeck spoke to Corey, he asked whose bike it was, and Corey told him that it belonged to his friend Julius Mullins. When Burbeck told Ranger Schraub about the bike and said that it belonged to Julius Mullins, alarm bells rang. Schraub recognized that name. It turns out that the day after Melanie was interviewed, she actually went to the police station with something to tell the investigators. While trying to figure out who could have killed her mother, someone came to mind. Her ex-boyfriend, Julius Mullins, the same person that Peter brought up during his interrogation.
He's gonna be at my older daughter, so they break him up. So I'm not saying he's suspect. I'm saying that too, no.
She provided a written statement to the police saying that she, quote, knew for a fact that when Julius was younger, he used to be in a gang, partook in drugs, and had killed people. At the time that Melanie told them this, the detectives were hyper-focused on investigating Peter, and they weren't sure if there was any weight behind her statement. But now that they had compared his bike tires to the tracks at the crime scene, they were eager to bring him in for an interview. Sergeant Burbeck brought Corey along while he picked up Julius, and all three of them went back to the station. Corey was then brought into the interrogation room with Ranger Shea, while Julius waited in another room.
First of all, you understand you're not under arrest or anything like that. You're just.
Corey said that he hardly knew the Allens and had never been inside their home.
You've never been in there?
After 13 years that I lived in Olney, I barely even talked to Melanie.
At this point, the investigators weren't really concerned about Corey's involvement. They
There's
were more
so much to
interested
this
in
one.
what Corey knew about Julius. Apparently, Julius had a reputation of getting in trouble with the law. When he was in middle school, he spent some time at a juvenile detention center. And more recently, he had been charged with the possession of marijuana. His father didn't want this kind of behavior around Julius's younger brothers. So he told Julius to smarten up or find somewhere else to live. Since then, Julius had been couch surfing at different people's houses, including Corey's. Apparently, when Melanie broke up with him, Julius was heartbroken. His behavior shifted and he became extremely unpredictable. Corey was especially concerned when Julius started recklessly handling guns around his family.
They started bringing guns to my house. He scared me and my grandma.
How did he scare you?
He just acts a little iffy.
The investigators wondered if Julius's recent interest in guns motivated him to steal from Peter's extensive gun collection.
So what has he told you about
Yeah,
Miss Allen going
that's a bit of a
missing?
motive.
He hasn't really said anything to me, but...
And like I said, there tends to be a connection somewhere.
Supposedly was real close with Melanie's mom, so I mean, I'll cry if I get closer because She was nesting in the hall, so.
Do you think Julius had anything to do with it?
He might have something to do with it, because, I mean, he's been in the house. He knows what it looks like. He probably knows where everything's at.
Corey's interview was concluded, and it was now time for Julius to face questioning.
Tell me about Miss Allen.
Julius said that for the year that he was with Melanie, Manu had treated him like family. She even let him stay at their house for a while when he was having problems at home.
She's probably one of the people that's actually helped me the most. She was like basically kind of like my other mom, because she like helped me out and stuff.
What is with the... How is this guy's hat always in the fucking way? Like, does he not know where the fuck the camera is? What is this? This is twice now. Like, get a hat rack or something, man. Keep it on. Like, what is this? This is twice. Maybe not. Maybe more. I mean, we haven't even seen the other interviews, really. This could have been... This could be every... Like, at what point do they move the table or move the camera or tell him... Stop putting your fucking hat here. Like, what is this? Every time? Are we serious? Like, at what point are you like, oh, my bad, hiding the camera? Well, no, that doesn't, you wouldn't. It's a police interrogation room. There is a camera. Like, they are told they're being recorded.
When I get my together, she was a really nice lady.
So how long did you and Melanie date?
I think about a year and a couple months.
Was there any time
Fascinating.
between you and her parents at all?
No, the only time we I think was just between me and her dad, because I was dating her.
Why'd y'all break up?
She said she wanted a break, and then I was like, okay, I'm fine with that.
Although Julius was acting nonchalant about his breakup with Melanie, Corey said that the breakup left Julius devastated. He became antisocial at school and constantly texted Melanie saying that he wanted to get back together. Julius said that he was in disbelief when she told him about her mom's death.
She was like, my mom was murdered, and I was like, what do you mean? And she said, my mother's blood all over the floor and the room and stuff. And I was shocked, like it hit me like hard.
Who do you think did this?
I really don't know.
Is their daughter torn up pretty bad? You want me to be honest with you, Julian?
Yes, sir.
They think you did it.
Yeah, I know.
Apparently, Melanie had accused Julius of being involved in her mother's murder.
She was like, a murderous bastard killed my mother, and then she said all these other things like towards me. She was like, was it you and Brandon Hollins? Like, did y'all plan this? I wanted to like look at her and be like, are you serious? I was like, Melanie, I was like, I still love you. I would never do something like that to you.
When the detective asked Julius where he was on the night of the murder, he said that he was at Corey's house playing video games. At this point, the detectives were unable to make any more progress questioning Julius, so they collected his DNA and
Oh my God,
fingerprints,
so much
and he was free to
so
leave.
much to this,
They
man.
immediately compared these fingerprints to the ones found on Manu's car. They were a match. They also obtained a warrant for Julius's phone data, and on the night of Manu's murder, his phone connected to the Allen House Wi-Fi. Julius was swiftly brought back in for another interview, and he was confronted
again.
with this evidence.
There's stuff that I already know.
Phone again.
That you don't know, I already know.
Hey, by the way, in case you're like, what if they never connected to the Wi-Fi in the first place? Not how it works. Your phone pings the Wi-Fi regardless to let your phone know there's a Wi-Fi signal. So like, if you have Wi-Fi activated and eligible on your phone, even if you don't connect to somebody's router, you being near it pings the phone and you still connect to your the Wi-Fi, like in a way, like sort of to communicate to your phone that Wi-Fi signal exists. So yeah, even if he never had connected to it, this still would have happened. Also, another interview, his hat's in the fucking way. Get this shit out of here, man. Like, what is this guy doing?
So, don't lie to me. Yes, okay? This is your opportunity to help yourself out
Every time. Every
you're
time.
wrapped up in this guy is
just fucking yeehaw right in the way, man.
Okay?
Unbelievable.
When was the last time you were over there at their house?
A month ago.
So it's been a month since you've been over there.
Yeah.
Why the night that Miss Allen was killed would your phone be pinging off their Wi-Fi?
My phone, I didn't go over.
Why are people taking their phones with them on their crime trips? Because people are so attached to their phones that they need it everywhere at all times, available at all times. And I'm saying this as a similar, like as a person. Phones are so integral to our day-to-day and personal and social lives at this point in time that like it is a limb. It is essentially a limb to people. Like it seems if you don't have your phone near you, you feel naked. I can almost guarantee it. It is more likely that you are somebody who feels weird without having their phone inside or on hand than not. And I think we're pretty much all guilty of that. That is just like psychologically, sociologically, what's going on with phones in this day and age. Like technologically, it is so ingrained into our daily life and is so necessary in a lot of ways that it feels weird to not have it. So like people aren't technologically competent in a way that they know how phones work, so they just don't even think about this sort of stuff. But yeah.
There that night, I was literally at Corey's.
Why would your fingerprints be on that vehicle in blood?
I don't know.
The detective spent much of this interview asking these same questions over and over, reiterating that Julius would face the consequences if he didn't tell the truth.
Your butt's looking at some time in prison if you don't tell me the truth.
His butt.
If they don't give you the death penalty.
But Julius wasn't biting. He adamantly denied any involvement in Manu's murder.
What would be the reason that your fingerprint...
Speaking of my phone, it just fell in my pocket. Whoopsie.
Or your DNA?
No, I really don't know.
There is no reason. In her...
Because like everywhere on my hand, dude.
In her blood.
I didn't murder Miss Allen.
Okay, I didn't say you did.
Well, you're saying like I did.
Although it was clear that Julius was lying about his involvement,
it is crazy to have his fingerprint on her blood. I don't know how much better physical evidence you can get. Maybe his hair, maybe strands of hair in her blood, or DNA on the weapon. Like it is hard to find something more concrete than that, if I'm honest with you.
there wasn't any definitive proof that he was the one who killed Manu. Another possibility was that Peter had killed Manu and asked Julius to help get rid of the body. According to everyone who knew Julius, he was desperate to get back together with Melanie. So perhaps Julius saw this as an opportunity to do her dad a favor and to ultimately get closer to his daughter.
When was the last time that you communicated with Peter? Okay, because if there's communication and you're not telling me there's communication.
I promise you there's not. I don't have his phone number. I literally don't have I don't have a SIM card.
If somebody called you and says, hey, I screwed up, I got to get rid of this body, and you helped out and you let me know that, then I can help you out as much as I can.
Which is like not much.
You help somebody cover it up and get rid of the body. Hey, look at me. If you didn't kill her, I need to know. But if you help get rid of the body, I need to know that too.
Didn't get rid of the body. I didn't kill her. I didn't.
No matter how much the detective applied pressure, Julius continued to deny his involvement. The detectives decided to wait until all of the evidence was analyzed before charging Julius with anything, so he was free to go for now. A few hours later, Ranger Schraub went to Corey's apartment to pick up Julius's bike and crossed paths with Julius. He asked Julius if he could take a look at the bottom of his shoe.
Oh, look at those.
That it matched the shoe print left in the mud where Manu's body was dumped. The detectives went to the judge and presented all of the evidence they had gathered. An arrest warrant was
me when I keep my murder shoes because they got they're drippy.
Granted. Julius was tracked down again, arrested, and brought back to the station for one more interview.
We know that you were out there, but not only that, we know your shoes were out there.
Dork.
Not only that, but we know your bicycle was out there. I don't think you're 100% responsible for this. Yeah, I know it took more than one person to just move that body. If you think you're going to help her or help her dad or help whatever and help you get closer to you. And so I just want you to explain to me why all those different things are pointing towards you.
Throughout the interview, Julius would answer the odd question here and there, but nothing that would incriminate him further. Whenever the detective brought up the evidence against him or asked him how he got
I don't
into
need
the
much more if I'm
situation,
honest with you.
Julius went silent.
Why you're not getting us a little more information, I don't know. Are you the sole person responsible for this? Just tell me how it happened, how you got involved.
However, after enough persistence, the detective had a breakthrough.
You want to talk about this somewhere else besides this room?
Just gotten a jump scare.
I'm scared.
After a quick smoke break and a change of environment,
Uh-oh.
Julius was finally ready to talk.
Surely he's not going to talk outside of the interrogation room as if he's still not being recorded.
You already know who did it. Who are you talking about? You talking about Peter Allen? How did Peter Allen get a hold of you? What was that, Allsup's?
Allsup's is a convenience store located right around the corner from the Allen home. Julius said that he ran into Peter there, and Peter told him to get into his car. Once inside Peter's car, he pulled out a gun and pointed it at Julius.
He was like, I'm only going to tell you this once. If you tell anybody else, I'm going to kill your entire family. So he unlocked that window. And he told me, here's what's going to happen. You're going to go in there.
Julius began choking up, but the detective comforted him and encouraged him to keep going.
You're doing what's right. What did he tell you to do after you got in there? He told me he left a butterfly knife on the counter, and that that's what I would have to use to kill her.
What time did you go to the house?
Like 2.
2 a.m.? And what did you do?
He told me exactly what to do. He told me to go for her head.
How many times do you think you stabbed her in the head?
I don't remember.
A bunch?
Yep. She screamed a lot.
Manu fought through the knife attack and ran for the door, but Julius slammed her on the ground and strangled her.
He was just sitting there on the couch and he watched me do it.
He couldn't see you from there, right? In the bedroom?
He knew I was there.
So Mr. Allen just sat in the living room the whole time?
Helped me take her and put her in the car.
How'd you get her to her final spot?
I had to drag her.
Did you shoot her at the lake? After she was already dead?
Yeah, he told me to do it.
So you shot her right there?
I didn't even know if I hit her or not. I just pulled the trigger and ran.
As chilling as this confession was, Julius cried the entire time, showing clear signs of remorse.
Hey, I see all sorts of remorse in you. You're not that bad of a person.
I killed her ace and mom.
This is so weird, bro.
Wish you would have called us.
He said he was going to kill my family if I did that. And I believe him. He's a Green Beret.
Following this interview, Julius was charged with first-degree murder and taken straight to jail.
Yep.
Now that Manu's murderer was behind bars.
I was about to say first-degree murder no matter what. I mean, even if that is the actual thing that happened, like that's still... There was still time to plot that, and you did.
The detectives were ready to hone in on Peter, the one who orchestrated it all. However, after a thorough investigation, the detectives were unable to corroborate Julius's allegations against Peter. There was no evidence of their encounter in the Allsup's parking lot, and Peter's DNA wasn't found anywhere that would be incriminating.
Also, I was about to say, wouldn't a gas station have footage? I'd find it very strange that in this day and age, a gas station wouldn't have some kind of security footage.
Even the compression sock that was covered in blood had Julius's DNA on it, not Peter's. Ultimately, Julius was the only one to be charged in connection to Manu's death. He pled guilty to first-degree murder, tampering with a human corpse, and burglary of a habitation. He was sentenced to 55 years in prison and will be eligible for parole after 28 years.
That's a pretty standard life sentence.
He has recanted his accusations against Peter and has openly admitted to being the sole perpetrator.
Interesting.
He claims that he only broke into the house because he wanted to steal Peter's guns, but when things went south, he panicked and attacked Manu because he didn't want to go to jail. He currently resides in the All Red Unit in North Iowa Park, Texas, and is projected to be released in the year 2074.
How did that go? What a case, dude. I mean, like, once again, I can't give this channel enough props. I mean, like, they keep it so the husband isn't involved? Seemingly not. I mean, this is what makes it good, is like he addresses the, I'm going to say absurdity here, but like not necessarily absurd. The absurdity in the sense that like I mean, you know, like the crazy, like out like curveball, like the crazy twist. Like he addresses the crazy twist ideas, but ultimately, like, you know, I mean, the rule of Occam's razor, like you see a knife, the knife gets used in film, right? The most obvious answer is the answer sometimes, most of the time. So, and in this case, it kind of wasn't, but also it kind of was, in the sense that, like, the spouse is the immediate suspect. They suspected him, but they didn't have enough. But then they found out, they honed in on this guy, and all of the stuff lines up. So it makes the most obvious answer. But at the same time, they still want to try to go after their first guy, especially after the second guy is saying the first guy was involved and in fact was the one that made him do it. But once there's just all sorts of there's a lot to this one. I really like this one. And once again, I really like this channel. I just think he does a good job of, like, delving into the absurdity on top of keeping it analytical and professional. Easily keeps it professional on top of, like, it's not like it's absurd to, and you know, the whole part of argument and debate is to understand the other side, to at least know how to talk against it, right? So being able to analytically look at a different argument point in terms of a crime is a great way to investigate, because even if it's absurd, it's not out of the ordinary. It's not unheard of for something that crazy to happen, because people do crazy shit. That's why crime exists, because people do some crazy shit, and will do crazy shit, especially for family, especially for greed, especially for love, especially for hate, right? So it isn't crazy to think about the possibility of the dad actually doing that. I don't think it's the likely scenario. I do think it's a possibility, and I think it's interesting to include it because it adds to the investigative process that the cops had with the kid, who is seemingly the sole suspect, who in fact in jail admitted to being the only perpetrator. But he does a really good job of addressing things that could be that are interesting within the case, to keep the case, the cogs and the wheels turning. Like, he keeps it, like, I was thinking the whole time, like, it wasn't an obvious answer the whole time. It could have been, he could have made it obvious. He could have just been like, yeah, this kid did it, but they thought it was the family, so, but here's just the kid's interview. He could have just had the guy's interview who did it, and that could have been it, and just been like, he accused the dad, here's the dad's interviews. But instead, he kept it ambiguous and was like, it could be the dad, it could have been the son with the weird reaction at the announcement of her death, of her body being found. It could have been the daughter who had an interesting alibi as well. But then out of left field, here's this guy, and all of the shit lines up with him, because in all those other interviews, he was mentioned. And it kind of creates this nice circle of thought, and like, oh, but he goes over the fact that, like, two of them, the dad and the daughter, brought him up, but because the police were so focused on seeing if the dad did it, they didn't think much of it. But then his name comes back up, and they're like, wait a minute, this was said before. He creates this video through an investigative process rather than a entertainment process. Does that make sense? And it makes it really good true crime content to me. Maybe that's just coming from a scholastic standpoint, maybe because, like, it's what I studied and it's what I like to indulge and learn. And I like to sort of, you know, think about it in that way while I do this sort of stuff. But yeah, I think it's awesome. He does a really good job of this. Like, honestly, once again, huge props to him.